Donk Nation, Jackson, Janet, greetings and welcome to your Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. It's your boy, the Viking Donkey, bringing you some nonsensical Steelers talk. Somehow Gingy's still hanging in, but there is literally nothing to talk about this week. Gingy, I have no idea how to keep it nonsensical anymore, but what's going on over there?
Here we go. Steelers, Shinji in the house, getting hyped for the draft, Donkey. What I've been doing is try to pass the time is exploring everybody's mock drafts. Really interesting to see some of the far-fetched situations that people were putting out there. But, I don't know. Options on the board. Steelers trading back, Steelers trading up, Steelers staying where they're at. What do you think of the pick at 20, Donkey? We're getting close.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who's going to be available. I don't know how you hit a home run on this one. Hopefully they do. I'm not going to doubt that right off the bat. But more importantly, the team has holes that need to be filled, and that always makes me nervous going into a draft time. We've talked about that before. But first, I have to say, Gingy, your boy Destroyin', who caught the touchdown from Brad Wing last week, he broke his neck because, folks, newsflash, tackling with your head down is a really bad idea, even if you're a kicker.
Yeah, just glad to appear. It appears like he's okay. Like he's in a position where he's gonna cover, hopefully, But yeah, it looked bad. It was bad. Oh, it reminded me of Shazier. So difficult. But yeah, good form, very important.
Yeah, I mean, either that or you just put flags on everybody. I mean, that's the way we're trending.
No. Don't be getting into those type of vibes, all right? Just because we got ourselves a little nuke, you got ourselves a little new kickoff, Donkey, and you can't unweight yourself upon tackling opponent from behind anymore. Does not necessarily mean that we're ready for flags. Okay?
Explain to me how you tackle an opponent from behind, and if you can explain to me how you do that in good form, I will slightly skew my opinion.
Now, what you need to do is you need to be running behind them at twice the speed that they are running.
Tap them on the shoulder.
What you need to do is you need to pull off a flying Rey Mysterio front leap and basically grab them as you were jumping over top of them and roll them into a pin move and wait till the ref gets down on the field and counts to 3.
Yeah, well, hey,
that's how you tackle somebody from behind appropriately.
There's a big enough conglomerate that believes that the NFL is scripted here, so please no wrestling comps because they will fully go off that the NFL is scripted, and they will blame our podcast for exposing the truth. I don't want to be a part of that, Gingy.
You're scripted? You think so? Really, Donkey?
Really? We just magically on an election year get Tay-Tay to hang out with a football player who wins the Super Bowl? Come on.
I don't know if that's scripted. I don't know.
You thinking?
No, what I am thinking, Donkey. Here's what I am thinking. I think that the prevalence of legal sports books today has made weird shades of things happen in Las Vegas. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a predetermined script, but those point shades one way or another, 4.5 this way, 3.5 this way. I might question some of that, Donkey.
This is a messy subject that I really want to get in. I don't really want to get into, but I hear you on that. I don't think even point shades are the weird things. How about player prop bets, and how about teams putting on their Jumbotron like the New York Yankees did that a player is about to reach a prop bet?
Yeah.
Little odd, don't you think?
Yeah. I don't know much more about it than that. Yeah, we don't have to if you don't want to, but that's about as far as I would go towards scripted, quote unquote, myself.
I'm just saying, you're seeing flags that are conveniently thrown that let certain score outcomes become more prevalent. We know for a fact the NBA had a big problem with officials already doing this, with the idea now that betting's becoming more accessible everywhere, that sports bets they might as well be in the football stadiums at this point since you can just do it off your phone, right? I
Pretty much
mean,
are, yeah.
I guess this is a good slippery slope to go ahead and have our nonsensical talk about. Is the future of sports entertainment, Gingy, because we won't call it sports anymore. Sports entertainment, is the future gonna be swayed by gambling?
Well, hey, that's why these commissioners get the big bucks, don't they? You know, the Adam
Mm-hmm.
Silvers, the Roger Goodells of the world, that's kind of their job as commissioner of the league to have, things in place to ensure that doesn't become the case. I would imagine that somebody in one of those offices has considered this donkey here at
Well,
length,
you
what we're
you
talking
want
about.
to say that, but how many NFL suspensions have we already had for players betting on games? There's a college kid who's coming up, a wide receiver, can't remember his name, but he bet on games and specifically on his own player prop bets while he was in school. We've seen that guys can be maybe corrupted by images close to them. Shohei Ohtani's interpreter gets a huge, huge, huge gambling debt. How did that come to be? This
Mm.
is a very slippery slope that it does seem to be having effects on the way players play the game, look about the game. Because I'm gonna be honest, I watched those LSU games that kid was supposedly gambling on himself in, and you could see the just like anger when he didn't get the ball, the me mentality when he bet on a prop bet on himself. And if we're already finding out about the ones that have been there, for every case you find, there's probably 10 more you don't. How big do you think that this goes in terms of affecting true outcomes of sports? Should we just call it sports entertainment now instead of being true old fashioned sports? Does it need a name change? Does it need to come out and say, yeah, maybe we're not as true as we are like WWE? And would you still accept it if you knew? Let's keep on the gambling part. I'll ask my second question afterwards. Do you think that this is affecting the sports culture?
I definitely think it's affecting the sports culture. I don't know if it's affecting the accuracy and the outcome of games like you're proposing. Not on a consistent basis. That's yet to be seen or proven. You're talking about putting asterisks on things already, like Barry
I never
Bonds and
said an
that.
asterisk. I
You
liked
talked
the
about,
WWE, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. I enjoy
you talked
sports
about maybe,
entertainment.
changing it from sports to sports entertainment. It's kind of an asterisk, donkey. It's kind of an asterisk.
When you have an hour long halftime show at the most important game of your season that's played completely different than any other game of your season, I think you can go ahead and say that it needs to just have entertainment in its title anyway.
It is an entertaining game, donkey. I'll give you that.
And then most of the time they're actually not. This one, though, I'll give you that. This one was pretty good. That was a pretty solid game. But the second part I want to get into, let's say, hypothetical here, let's say this has been an entertainment thing. Let's say there is a loose fitting script. If you were to find out there is a loose fitting script, would it affect your enjoyment of the game?
Simple answer, I believe, donkey would be yes. How about you?
No, it would not. I love WWE. I don't give a crap if I know how the wrestling thing. If at the end I knew, hey, there's an outcome, you just didn't get to know it from the get go. That wouldn't change anything from me as long as I don't predeterminedly know the outcome. I'd still root on. Now, would it change how fervent I am in terms of fandom? I mean, yeah, of course it would, but I don't think it would change the entertainment value for me at all. I would still watch as many games as I could. I'd still do that. And the big question is, what does the loose script mean? Is it supposed to be, hey, we want to keep this game as close as possible and we want to make sure the fourth quarter this guy has a chance, right? Because the script doesn't necessarily mean, hey, we're going to make sure Patrick Mahomes makes the fourth quarter comeback. Maybe it means we keep it to a one-score game and Patrick Mahomes gets the ball with 5 minutes, somewhere between 5 minutes and the end of the game. with a chance in a one-score game, right?
Maybe, Donkey. Would it change my fandom?
Would it?
Perhaps a little bit. Perhaps a little bit. Would it change me watching games and entertainment value? Probably not.
Would it change the way you looked at the past if you knew there had been one? Would it change your view any of those miraculous moments that still had to exist, right? Like a Ben Roethlisberger pass to Santonio Holmes in the corner, or maybe a phantom pass interference, offensive pass interference call against the tight end in Seattle on a Super Bowl game. Would it change any of those past moments for you?
It might, right? It might if those were involved in that. You see what I'm saying? It would definitely change the way that I would analyze the game.
Fair. That's an absolute fair point to take. I personally don't know. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I could say either answer, but until it happens, I wouldn't be truthful. I think I'd lead to the man, it still happened. I still saw it. I don't really care. Because it's like, I'm just an entertainment fan, right? I like things that make me feel the endorphin release of joy. I don't care if it's going to a concert. I don't care if it's going to a sporting event. I don't care if it's watching someone lift 500 pounds because you're like, how the hell did you do that? That's sweet. I don't care if it's someone speeding around a racetrack really fast. I don't care if it's someone winning a hand of Texas Hold'em. Man, as long as you get those release of endorphins, I think that's what really would matter to me. But again, I can't say for sure. But at the end of the day,
Interesting
I
take.
love WWE, so I'm gonna say, well, not current WWE. I like traditional, not Vince McMahon touching everyone arena days.
Come on.
Low hanging fruit. Got to take advantage while you can. I guess that kind of got a little nonsensical there for that. Gingy, in terms of these mock drafts that you brought up earlier, let's try to get a little bit back to Steelers talk here. Which ones intrigue you the most? Is it the stay pat at 20, take X position, or the stay pat at 20, take X player, or is it the move up to get X player, or the move back, or is it the somehow we trade this, that, and the other to get a Brandon Ayuk, right? Because that's all the talk now is Brandon Ayuk coming to Pittsburgh? Is Pittsburgh going to trade for the Traylon Burks, who's done nothing from Tennessee? Are they going to reunite Russell Wilson with Tyler Lockett? That's all the articles I see every other week. Which one of those is the most intriguing for you?
I wouldn't mind Tyler Lockett. He's in these mock drafts. Donkey. I think it's. Here. I'll preface this. Not my strong suit figuring out these drafts, Donkey. It is nearly impossible to call that from the front with all those variables based on who's the board. I really think that we've got. Doesn't it feel like over the last week or so, centers are dropping?
What you mean?
Like, I don't know. Who's our number one center on the board? Is that
Powers Jackson?
Powers
Only
Jackson,
guy at the
right?
first round grade. Yep. Only guy at the first round grade. If you want to give it that, I don't. I grade him as a round 2, but neither here nor there.
Do you think he makes it to round 2?
No, but is overdrafting the way to go? No,
I was going to say, who
that
else
in
is in the
cases like
market for a
Najee
center?
Harris.
Do you think any other teams in the market for a center?
There's always teams looking to upgrade at center. Who are the teams that lost one recently? Miami, clearly a team behind us in the board that would look to upgrade there. Denver, a team early in the second round that could move up late into the first to get him if he's still there. Let's see, who else is in the market for a center? You could argue Philadelphia is in the market for center because they don't want to move Landon Dickerson away from guard. They just signed him a big contract there. With Kelsey's retirement, that creates a hole for them at center. And those are just the 3 big names that come right off the top of my head. I'd have to look a little deeper to tell you any more than that.
No, I agree. Yeah, I think that's true. So there's only a couple, and we're ahead of most of them.
In theory, but then that means, do you overdraft a guy like Jackson Powers in the first round? And if you overdraft a guy like or is it Powers Jackson? Whichever way it's supposed to go. Let's say I said it right. I always mess it up, and that's my bad. I should be better. Is overdrafting worth it to fill a position of need? We've seen the Steelers do that before, and we could argue that's why the Steelers are where they are today, is because when they have those picks to get those big time talents, instead of taking them, they take a average guy. Let's say Powers Jackson does live up to be a decent center, but he's only a average center, right? Not Pro Bowl caliber, average starter. Let's say last year 3 before Pouncey retired, right? Not the last 2 where he was below average, but year 3 where he was still a possible player. Let's say that's the upside for that pick, where you could get a guy like, let's say Sweat is still there, or someone who turns into a Pro Bowl defensive lineman because he's a huge run stuffer with a quick first step that let him be a good pass rusher, and he might fall due to a DWI arrest. Is it worth passing up a big talent to fill a hole? And are the Steelers putting themselves in a problem by going into the draft with so many holes?
Definitely too many holes, Donkey. Lots of holes to plug. Didn't have much, wiggle room in free agency, though, right? Have too much money on the board, and we've already
can talk
had that
about
discussion
that.
before.
Was there wiggle room in free agency? Mitch Morse signed for a deal that was a lot less than any of the people we've brought in since, and those people have been brought in to either fill a position that already had a starter or are brought in to be backups. You're talking Mitch Morse signed for less a year than we're paying Donta Jackson from the trade. He signed for less a year than we're paying Patrick Queen. He signed very similar deals to you take Elliott's contract along with Van Jefferson. Instead of those two, you could have brought in a starter like Mitch Morse. That's just the first one I'm thinking about. And then we created holes of our own doing by trading Deontay Johnson. And let's be honest here, maybe we bring him back, but if we still had Mason Cole on the roster, we're not talking about having to draft a center. Because right now we don't have a center on the roster. Okay, Herbig tried at center, but there's a reason he moved back to guard instantly, because he's not good at center. James Daniels took a couple snaps in Chicago. There's a reason they put him right back to guard. Those guys aren't center. There is not a center on this roster. There's not a capable wide receiver 2 on this roster. There's not a capable cornerback number 2 on this roster. There's not a capable... Well, now there's a capable backup. I forgot we signed Lowry. So there's capable on the defensive line, but you're talking a lot of these holes are self-created, and the fact is the Steelers before the draft, in my opinion, need to go out and sign one of these offensive tackles who is fringe starter level, like Donovan Smith, who spent a lot of years in Tampa last year as part of Kansas City, because they cannot go in without tackle being addressed as well. I think we shot ourselves in the foot by not being aggressive, specifically on offense. Because think of how aggressive we were on defense to get people, but how not aggressive we were on offense. I mean, everyone, and this is my favorite story, everyone wants to talk about how Mason Rudolph just didn't like the Steelers' contract offer. How about 2 months later, we find out the Steelers never even offered Mason Rudolph a contract?
Yeah, felt that QB room was full with our plans that we had there, and went from there. Not upset about that. Definitely still could have Mason Cole on the roster, Donkey, but that we both know that's not a solution at center, right? We've had that discussion.
This is going to sound terrible, but I'm not sold on any of the centers in this draft being day or season 1 better than what Mason Cole was last year. There's no one who looks like, there are some guys who, if they hit and they figure it out right away, are going to be awesome. But none of those guys, in my opinion, project as well as Broderick Jones did as NFL ready. And I told you, Broderick Jones to me was raw. And he showed it at the end of the year. He struggled, right? It's fair to say he struggled the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I don't see any of these guys who are in the draft at center being more NFL ready than Broderick Jones was last year. That's the problem. We're relying on a rookie who's not NFL ready. This is how we ruined Kendrick Green. Don't forget, that can ruin a player playing them before they're ready. That's what happened with Kendrick Green.
We certainly don't want to do that, Donkey. That didn't turn out well.
No, I mean, I know he only played 4 games, but the 4 games he played last year in Houston were better than anything he's ever done in Pittsburgh, because his psyche in Pittsburgh was ruined, and sometimes you need to change the scenery to fix that. My biggest fear is we overdraft someone. Let's say Powers Jackson is gone, so all of a sudden we overdraft in the first round the kid from Duke or the kid from West Virginia, who should be third-round picks at best. We start them day one, and they struggle. I'm afraid we could ruin him, just like I'm afraid we might have ruined frickin' Broderick Jones by moving him to the right side. I am so afraid of this team being so we have to fill the holes and try to magically contend this year that we are going to ruin the future by ruining drafts again by not drafting best player available, instead taking a need position and drafting another Najee Harris.
Yeah, that might not be the best move, Donkey. Lots of holes to fill. Some of them bigger priorities than others.
For sure. And that's what makes me nervous about the way this offseason has gone. But, I hope everything works out well. I hope Van Jefferson turns into Antonio Brown, right? I always do.
Let's go.
Never going to hope anything wrong for the Steelers. But I'm going to give it to you realistically how I see it. Whether I see it right or wrong, that's up for debate. I've said a lot of things that have bit me in the butt in the past, and extenuating circumstances, things might be different, but my view right now is the Steelers, Gingy, are trending in the wrong direction, and the mock drafts, which tend to have a little bit of feel, maybe not for the right player, but for what a team is looking for, right? I don't like the trend of them. I really, really don't, because I see a big swing and a miss coming. And hear me out if you've ever heard this before. Steelers linked to a cornerback in the first round. Boy.
Definitely an area in need, but as I said earlier, some areas needed more than others. Warner needs to wait.
Yeah, I'd love to see the offensive line short up. And Gingy, I think the most concerning part of this whole offseason, and the fact that the Steelers really haven't been linked to talking to too many offensive tackles, is, are we seriously content with Dan Moore Jr.?
It's possible. It sure has looked like it, doesn't it?
That I feel Dan Moore Jr., they're in love with him. I'm waiting for the contract extension that rivals what Chuck Sikorafor got. That's what I'm honestly waiting for, so that I can go back to drinking again. Because, man, I don't think I can stay 2 years sober if Dan Moore Jr. is over there playing right or left tackle,
That's going to be bad. Just count on many, many flags for holding penalties.
Count on needing more than Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, because I don't know if you watched, but we broke Kenny Pickett like 7 times in his 2 years as a young quarterback. Like, remember when I said, and I quote, man, if we don't fix this offensive line, we're going to David Carr that kid, and then we didn't fix the offensive line going into year 2?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really think we David Carr'd that kid, and that sucks for him and for the Steelers, because, yeah, that's a fun spot to be. Gingy, I really want to end it on that note from me. Do you have any closing topics?
Nothing else on my radar, really, Donkey.
Fair enough. Any shout-outs you want to give this week?
We don't usually do that, Donkey, in the off season.
And that's fair. My shout-out's going to be the funniness of golf right now, with all the PGA people being mad at the Live Tour people for taking all the money and then saying that they're playing fake golf. And then they all have to come together and sing Kumbaya at the Masters because, it's a gentleman's game. So I just come to give a shout out to that whole situation because it makes me laugh and chuckle on the inside. I guess this time I'll let you know I'm the Viking Donkey. That's Viking_Donkey on Twitch and Twitter. Daily Dose Donkey with Ginger is a YouTube channel where you get all of this magnificent content. We, of course, keep it nonsensical in the off season. So if you're keeping some comments down there, keep them light, keep them happy. Let us know what you'd like to hear about, and let us know if there's any serious topics we need to take on during the off season. There we go. Words in the right order. Gingy, Please end this for me.
Mutant Gingy, Nonsensical. Wave 'em if you got 'em.